You were driving down the road, you're probably driving to the speed limit. The dog ran out into your path.
Yeah.
It's the owner's problem.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not your problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyway,
but animal suffering, I just can't deal
But
with
that's not a great way, but not the best way, but a good way to segue into the overclock. This is episode 63 of the Overclock podcast.
A driverless car wouldn't hit that dog. Oh, it might
What?
actually.
I don't know.
If the driverless car
Would it have picked it up in time?
Not driverless. I mean
Probably.
self-driving car.
Yeah.
The self-driving car would have to choose between ramming into the children on the sidewalk and then hitting the dog. It might
Oh
pick
my
the dog.
goodness, you are trying to trigger me.
No, okay. Sorry.
I have feelings about the ethics that we expect of computers
but-
that we make.
No, but there's a satirical take on this with a Mercedes owner driving along in his self-driving Mercedes, and when the baby carriage kind of rolls into the road, the car has to decide whether to protect the future Mercedes customer or the baby carriage. It's like, oh, let me protect this future customer instead.
I feel you. I'm joined as always. I'm Lindsey Schutters, sharpshooters on the internet or on social media, that opinion guy on the internet. I'm joined as always by Gavin Dudley, editor of Tech Magazine, the largest consumer technology publication on shelves. Gavin, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, good. We feel like a lot less stressed today than we usually do. That's good.
Yeah, because you're off deadline.
Yes, oh, thank goodness. And we don't have a freaking conference going on at the same time. And
The QE2 is in Cape Town, no?
Really?
Yes, I might go check it out with my kids.
Okay.
Because my daughter's doing like diary entries at school, so like genre writing. And
That's cool.
one of the diaries that they used as an example was a Titanic survivor.
Okay.
And so she's obsessed with like cruise ships now.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I'm like-
But also the Princess Grace or whatever is permanently moored at the waterfront as a hotel and...
Oh, okay.
And,
no, but the
and-
QE2, the legendary Queen
Yes,
Elizabeth
my
II.
parents have been on it.
Do you have rich parents?
Yeah, no. I'll tell you some other time how they get to go on it multiple times.
Gavin, we have a new Eskom CEO, and pragmatic is your favorite word.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that.
It's just so funny. The wife hates it when I listen to talk radio because she just can't bear like the base common denominator for intelligence of people who have to talk on the radio. Man, they have to call in and share their insights. But one guy came on and he used the word pragmatic, and it just stuck with me. And I just thought of all South Africa's problems. If we could apply the word pragmatic to all of them, so many of them would just could become clear. And this was the point with the CEO. Oh, he's not an engineer. Oh, he's not this. Oh, he's not that. But you just think about it pragmatically. This is someone who's taken like a pay cut from 50 mil a year down to like 8
So
mil
he
a
comes
year.
from Nampak, eh?
Yeah.
And he sorted Nampak out quite all
Yeah,
right.
but also he's worked at Sasol and other things, you know. And just like pragmatic, it's like, oh, he's not black. I'm like, oh, jeez. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but just add pragmatic to the equation and then somehow this guy makes sense, you know.
Talking about pragmatic, dude, you were at Africacom. Sorry, Africacom last week.
It actually was a bit of a con. The quality of the presentation
So you
was
were
not
talking
good.
about the forthcoming fourth
Fourth
industrial
Industrial
revolution.
Revolution. There was a lot of focus, not just on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, but also on preparing the workforce for that. How to upskill the workforce and how to reskill the workforce. And frankly, they just kept saying, we must reskill the workforce. No
Yes.
one had a freaking clue how they were going to do
Because
it.
we are currently within the fourth industrial
Man.
revolution.
Yeah. And no one has a clue.
Yeah, no one has a clue. Everyone's disrupting. Everybody.
Yeah.
So like the flip side of that is where the big established brands kind of want to flip the table on the market disruptors. So you have a company like Ford who released the Mustang Mach E electric vehicle as their bid to kind of catch Tesla out, because Tesla's launching the Model Y next year, which is their
It's about
compact.
its fifth model so far. I
Yeah,
think,
it's their compact SUV. There's a meme about Elon Musk trying to write the word sexy. So he's had the Model S, he's had the Model 3, he's had the Model X, and now he has the Model Y.
Okay, fine. But that's the same as he had Big Falcon rocket, big F, big FR, and thought the F might stand for something other than Falcon. Okay. All right.
So I like the car. It's using the Mustang brand to push its EVs because it needed that cachet.
I'm not much of a car guy, but this thing even caught my attention just because everybody knows what a Mustang is, what a Mustang means. You know, there was a time when Mustang was just an ordinary kind of consumer car. Lots of people had them. It would be like having a Golf or something like that. But then they beefed it up. It became more powerful. It became more this, more that. And so the Mustang has a long legacy that a lot of people recognize as something cool. And I'm hoping that they're going to keep the classic body shape to go with it. You've
It
seen it,
has
so...
the teardrop shape,
Yeah.
which is the most aerodynamic
so-
right now. It's a compact SUV. It's the first Mustang SUV.
Oh, it's an SUV.
It's an
Oh, I
SUV.
didn't realize that. There I was imagining a sedan, kind of like a classic 60s sedan. But I think I got a bit sort of sidetracked because there is a company in the UK who is reproducing the classic Mustang,
Yes.
that sort of Steve McQueen style Mustang, all electric. Of course, it costs like 600,000 euros or something.
Yeah. Oh no. This
and that's
this
a
is not
classic
that.
Mustang
this,
done in
this
Europe.
is a compact SUV.
Yeah,
I'm
I
showing.
must say that doesn't have any of the Mustang hallmarks.
It does.
you'd
It has
expect.
the 3-bar headlamps. It has the 3-bar
Okay.
rear lights. It has all the styling cues. It has
Well,
like the shortened off.
I guess the point is it's a
Those-
recognized brand. Ford's going all in on this. They're going to market in a really short timeline. This will be available next year. It'll be a
Yeah.
serious addition to the electric car market, and it'll come in lots of variants, which is what
Yeah,
interests
so
me.
you have the GT variant, which will come later, which has the high-powered twin electric motors, one on each axle, all-wheel drive. It's launching with a base model. I forget what it is called, but the
Yeah.
launch price is like around the $40,000 mark, which is bang on against like mid-range Tesla Model 3. So the interesting thing is Ford's been developing the electric
Don't get carried away on this
car
car thing. It's not a
platform
car
for
show.
4 years. Then Tesla launched the Model 3, and then within 2 years they managed to bring this product to market, which is amazing, and it hits all the beats. It has the range, it has the power output, it has the looks, it has the brand cachet. I think it will work well, and they're bringing in all the smart stuff, so they're loading up all the sensors and stuff. Then you can just buy access to like the autonomous driving or that sort of thing. There are sensors that monitor the driver, all coming into playing with Ford's new Sync 4 system, which is
Okay.
fully HTML5. Yeah, I think it's going to do it.
How much does a Tesla Model 3 cost?
In
the US?
It starts at 32 grand.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the
so-
Tesla Model 3 is still substantially cheaper than this model, but this model wasn't aiming to be the cheapest, obviously.
Yeah. So the target price right now for like a mass production car, electric car, is 26 grand. That's where most people think.
Or where they think things go truly mass market.
Yeah, so Volkswagen is targeting that with the ID.3, which is currently running with production lines in China for early next year launch in Europe. Interestingly,
we droning on about a car that most people are not interested in.
interestingly,
Telling you now.
electric car market. Just one small point: a lot of guys are manufacturing in China now. So Tesla has a manufacturing facility in China, and Volkswagen have a manufacturing facility in China. China's EV market is actually on a
very big.
downturn now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought
it's
it- I
slowing
mean, it
and
was
it's
very big.
in decline because it was oversaturation in the market and just with crap products.
Okay.
And so people have been turned
That's
off. a
true.
little
There
bit.
have been Chinese
and
electric
the
cars that are not
government
great.
is cutting its subsidies like hectically.
That strikes me as odd. Why would they do that? Anyway, okay.
I don't know. So Ford is actually producing in Mexico because that was the cheapest production facility that they could retool to build the EVs. Because that's like the biggest cost is retooling your production facility. But yeah, that's an interesting point.
Okay.
That it's being built on mainland US.
One last point. In America, certain of the states give you big subsidies if you buy an electric car. That can be up to $10,000 in some of those states, which means that your $40,000 Mustang could actually cost $30,000.
Yes.
And this is the biggest problem with South Africa, is that there's no subsidy. And that's what makes electric cars so
Yeah, and
spectacularly
the import
expensive in
tax
South
is
Africa.
crazy. That's why
Yeah, it makes it unviable.
Elon actually
frankly.
said he's never bringing Tesla here because until
they
government
change that vibe. We'll see.
Gavin, last week we touched briefly on Telkom and Cell C. I saw this morning that Cell C's actually signed a 4G roaming agreement with MTN now.
Yeah, which flies in the face of being acquired by Telkom, because obviously it would be much better for Cell C to roam with Telkom, although I suppose Telkom doesn't have as extensive a network.
think the deal is now that Cell C is kind of splitting up their portfolio. So their 4G roaming is now being done on MTN so that they can have
Yes.
like 95% coverage without having the infrastructure costs.
Right.
So they're saving money on that. And then they're rolling out their fiber and like business solutions that will probably be sold to
Yeah,
Telkom.
but that's so tiny, it barely matters. But I mean, it looks like Telkom's still seriously in the game to buy Cell C. It was just unfortunate that Cell C decided to sign it wasn't actually a new agreement, it was just an extension on an existing agreement with MTN. So, I mean, that's a small blip in the scheme of things.
So Gavin, I just want to one more news thing. So Disney Plus launch not coming to South Africa until 2021 because of existing agreements, licensing agreements with Netflix and MultiChoice in this country. A lot of other countries also around the world also being delayed by varying times because of those agreements. Funnily enough, in smart TVs are becoming dumb TVs now because like the Chromecast isn't the right version to work with the app. So there's two things about this. One thing, as I said, everyone should just buy a normal TV and then add smarts with a streaming box or streaming stick or whatever you want to do. And then the other part of the equation is...
technically, you see, it's a whole extra piece of tech that people have to manage
and
and
this is where Netflix just has the lead on everybody else, where they've worked out their tech. Like,
you mean the app runs on everything?
Yeah, the app runs on everything. They're backwards compatible with like a lot of stuff.
True.
And they started as the couple of guys in Silicon Valley as a tech company first, and then a content company. Whereas everybody's playing the content game now. That's just my take on it. So don't buy smart TVs.
No, I don't think we're quite there. But that's actually a subject of a much bigger conversation. How to make a dumb TV smart is actually a much more complex conversation. Actually. You've probably heard by now that Telkom is no longer offering people traditional telephone lines to their homes. They're now forcing everybody to go into a wireless system. I know Lindsey's been one of those people.
Yes, I'm still waiting for the technicians to call me to come and install my LTE.
Someone called in on the radio and posed an interesting problem, which is some houses have multiple handsets.
Yes.
You know, for different parts. You're upstairs, downstairs, you've got one next to your bed, you've got one in the kitchen or whatever, you've got extra handsets. Now, apparently Telkom doesn't offer you multiple accounts on your one LTE router.
Yeah.
So you actually have to get an entirely second number and line and SIM if you want two phones in your house, which obviously defeats the object. And which strikes me as ridiculous because they could have, what's the system that cordless phones used internally in homes? It was like a 2.4 gigahertz system. I don't understand why they can't just have more handsets attached to the same hub. I think it's because it's, I don't know, those phones must link to that hub by 2.4 gigahertz wireless.
So here's my solution that I think will work probably, and what they'll push is voice over LTE.
Yeah, but how do you end up with multiple handsets? How do you end up with one phone next to your bed and one phone in the kitchen, like a regular house?
Buy an LTE handset that will link to your LTE, your Wi-Fi, and you can phone over that. But getting the same number to that, I think there'll probably be a little
that's the problem, because
there's
no number for LTE voice over LTE.
It's tied to a number, and I don't think it's as big an issue as we think.
Well, I mean, this radio listener had called in to go. Telkom had told her that if she wants to have a second handset, she has to get a second SIM and a whole second
I think
number.
that was more like the person on the phone in the call center who didn't have that.
Misleading her. Okay, well, it's just interesting. If you're being moved to that system, you might need to check into that multiple handset issue, that's all.
Talking about multiple handsets, Gavin, my daughter, as you know, she has an Android tablet. She's now reached an age where we can't use the Samsung Kids mode for anymore because it's like too kid, and she's becoming more sophisticated in her gadget usage, and we want to liberate her from all of this. I spoke about it briefly last week. So we're using the Google Family Link app, which allows me to connect a companion app on her device and link it to my Google account, and I can control pretty much everything, which came down to Sunday morning. She was up at like, my kids wake up early, but this was like ridiculous. Like 5:30, her tablet was still in her room. I heard her go to the bathroom, and then I knew you were gonna switch your tablet on, and you were gonna try and like watch YouTube or something. Okay. And then I just went onto the Family Link app. Okay. And I locked the device remotely.
Really? Hey? Okay.
And then she came storming into the room and he handed me the thing. And she's like, it doesn't work. Yeah, take it.
Okay. So when you lock the device, what happens? That you can't wake the device at all, or so
you can power it up, and you get greeted with like this purple screen to say that someone or like your parent has.
Okay.
It says like a cute message like time to take a break. And then like in small print, it's like your parent has locked this device.
Small print. Take tablet, fling against wall. Okay. Okay. So tell us two other things this app can do. Can you load time into the system? Time that runs out, or is it really just an on-off?
So you can set like a daily limit. You can set
In time.
Yeah, you can set a bedtime.
Okay, okay.
So I'd set hers from 9 until 7:30.
7, right,
Yeah, like
okay,
on
right, good,
all
good.
days.
Right.
So then you can't access the device
Okay.
between that. And then you
Alright.
can set time limits per day.
Okay.
So she's like on 2.5 hours for
Right, credits, yeah.
like
okay.
per day on the weekend and like 1 hour on the
So you
weekday.
can do both of those.
Yeah, you can do both of those. You can monitor which apps are on there,
Now
how they've been using the apps.
But these are only other Android-powered devices.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Tricky because, of course, if they had a PC, you'd have a different problem. And
Yeah,
so,
so I found in the Windows thing, you can download the Windows skin. The name just went out of my head now.
okay.
So there's there's a Microsoft launcher.
Right,
Microsoft
okay.
launcher onto an Android device that will grant you the same powers from. But like in Windows, it's hidden in like the settings.
Okay.
So there's parental controls things that you can then set with it. So it was originally.
You mean so this app that you're talking about
Yeah.
gives you control of the Windows devices on your Android device?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
No. You'll still have to control from a Windows device.
Right.
But the launcher, if you download it onto an Android device, it then turns it into kind of like a Microsoft family. What Microsoft call it? A family something. Family network.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that account is in your family network, you
Yes.
then have control over the target device. So it was originally devised for parents to have control over their kids' Xbox.
Windows Net. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right. Okay.
And then they expanded it to
Windows devices.
Windows, like all Microsoft devices.
okay.
So a Windows laptop, you can do it the same way. So if your kid has a Windows laptop,
Yes.
you can go into. I forget now. I need to get back in front of my PC
Okay.
to see exactly where it is. But in the settings, there is some parental control thing,
Okay.
and then or the family network. Yes, you go to family network.
Okay.
And then you can click on whatever person,
Okay.
and then you can have certain
Exercise
controls over.
Okay, okay.
Over that person's connected
Alright.
devices. But the part where these all fall down is for you to have control over the Chrome browser or the YouTube app via Google Family Link, the person must be signed into their
The
account.
account.
Yeah.
So if they're not signed in, they can use it anonymously
Yes,
and it will all
yes,
work. Yes,
yes,
okay.
yes.
So it actually targets the individual
Yeah,
rather than the app.
it
Yes,
targets
okay.
the account. So then
Okay.
there's like all sorts of ways around it. Obviously,
Sure.
Apple has this baked in from the
Okay,
beginning.
well, tell us the Apple version.
Apple, if you buy a new device, you can, for your kid, you can decide to set it up as a family device or as a kid's device.
Right.
And then that will link to your Apple ID. Like I had to
Right,
create
yes.
an Apple ID for my
For your daughter,
so
you're
she
under
could-
your underage
Yeah,
daughter.
I think it's under. I think the age limit
13
is
or
13.
something. Yeah, okay.
But you also need a credit card to set up a proper Apple ID.
I see, okay. All
And
right.
then you set that person in your family network as a child, and then you have full control over
of
that
their
device.
devices. Okay. Would that so any device she uses with that account? If
Yeah.
she had a MacBook using that account,
Yes.
same applies.
Yes.
If she has a tablet using that
Yes.
account, same applies.
Yes.
Phone, same applies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as they're logged in that account.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you can monitor app usage. You can set, obviously in Safari, you can set which websites they're allowed to visit,
Okay.
or you can set age restrictions on various things.
Right,
Yeah. So
okay.
anything that runs through your Apple ID, you can control.
Can you do the same, giving them time credits they
Yes.
can use two
Yes,
and a half
yes,
hours
yes,
a day,
you can do that.
and you can set switch on and switch off
Yes.
times? Okay,
Yes.
right. So to recap, the Android app is called what to control Android devices?
Google Family Link.
Google Family Link. You can control all the Android devices in your home.
Yeah.
You can set time credits for them to use up, and you can send switch on and switch
Yeah.
off times. You can probably control apps as well, but only if they are logged in under
Yeah.
as themselves on that device.
Yes. So the nice thing is on Android devices, you can have multiple profiles.
Yeah.
So like two people can use the same tablet.
Same device, and one will get locked up, but not the
Yeah.
other. Yeah. Okay.
So
right.
you're controlling the profile and not like
Okay.
the actual device. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Android version. There's a Windows version which is a little more
Yeah,
clunky.
it's
So in Windows, in the
Microsoft
settings,
Family Network.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can control all the Windows devices
Yes.
in your house. You think there might be a way to also control the Google devices
Yes.
from Windows?
So
but
an
it
Android, like
requires an
if
app.
your kid has an Android phone or something, you can download the Microsoft launcher,
Right.
and then have that sort of control over
Right,
the
from
Android
a
environment.
Windows device, you can control your Android
Yes.
devices. And then the last one is Apple, where
Yeah.
you can.
So Apple assumes that one person, one Apple device.
yeah.
So there's no like sharing profiles on iPad.
Right.
So if your kid has an iPad, you port it for that kid, and you
Right.
can set it up as your kid's
Right. So
thing and
so-
tie that Apple ID to
So
yours.
the minors in your house, their accounts can be added into the family group
Yes.
as minors,
Yes.
and that will automatically give you control
Yes.
over their devices, right? Okay.
And their purchases and the app
Right.
usage and all those things. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little snapshot. Obviously, it's a little more sophisticated than that. These are using native apps that are freely available. There are. Yes, we're all good, thank you. There are other apps like, for example, a Bitdefender, which is known
Yeah.
as an antivirus, but actually it's turned into a much bigger deal than that. That will also control all the devices in your home. It will also do security. It will also do financial transaction checking, all those kind of things. And there you buy one license and roll it out to all the devices in your house. Does the same thing, more convenient because it's a single thing. There are other products from Kaspersky, for example, does the same thing, and from Symantec does the same thing. We quite like the Bitdefender one. It's by far the leading one in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, just a quick one on Fitbit. Can I talk
Okay,
about Fitbit
go
very
quickly,
Very quickly. Fitbit and Garmin. So Fitbit owned the market. Fitbit was the generic activity tracker. They pioneered the market. They were it. And everyone referred to all trackers as a Fitbit, back in the day. And somehow they are now fallen to a place where they were snapped up for next to nothing by Google.
Yes. $2 billion.
It's next to nothing for a company that pioneered an entire product category, And then I read a thing about how Garmin had succeeded. Garmin just started off as GPS for cars and
Yeah.
GPS for boats and things
And then they're
like
like,
that.
hey, runners need GPS.
Yeah, runners need GPS. And then it was like, man, maybe not all runners need GPS, but they need these other things to
Yeah.
track their steps.
Cyclists
blah,
need
blah, blah.
GPS.
Yeah. So, Garmin then created a hugely diverse range of products. I'm sure.
It's still very confusing.
Yes, it is, unfortunately, because the names are
There's
all the
the
same.
Vivo,
Fit,
and there's-
and then there's Vivo,
And then there's Forerunner.
and then there's hugely confusing. However, what ended up happening was there was a product for almost every kind of niche user. You're a kayaker? Here's one for you.
Yeah.
You're a sea kayaker, but not a freshwater
Yeah.
kayaker. Well, here's a different one for you.
You a runner, but you don't run distance
Yes.
races.
Yes,
And
yes.
you a triathlete, and here's a different thing for you.
You're an activity person, but you only hike in mountains.
Yeah.
Here's a different product for you.
You want to run and listen to music,
Yes.
but you don't want to connect a service to it. Yes,
Yeah.
here's one for you.
Yes,
and
you
there's
go-
one that you can connect Spotify
You
to.
go to gym, but you don't run. Okay, there's one for you. So they ended up probably right now, I would guess, something like 30 to 35 different kinds of activity tracker product, including running watches,
Yeah.
golfing watches, all the way down to
And
people who
your
just walk
point
around
is
the
that
block.
that was the smart play.
Well, I hate when people fragment a market like that and create all these little niche products. But essentially, I think Garmin just took the same core technologies and made some a little better and
Yeah.
some a little cheaper, and in that way dominated the
Importantly,
whole
I
market.
think they improved their app. Because
Yeah,
their app,
that was key.
I was on
That's
Garmin
what
for a
Fitbit
long
always
time.
had going for it was a great app.
Yeah,
And now the
and
Garmin app
great
has caught
social-
up and
yeah.
passed them. Yeah.
But I think also like the social side was always because you needed people to be on the same devices that you
Yeah.
were. So when the running clubs, like your base device used to be the Forerunner 625, then it was the Forerunner 635,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it was Forerunner 645,
Yeah.
and now like
Now it's
you join a running
935.
club, like everybody
Yeah.
has the base freaking
Yeah,
running
yeah, yeah.
Garmin, and that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you get, and then you have all your friends there.
Yeah.
So Fitbit always had the great experience, and you could have like challenges against your friends and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then Apple released the Apple Watch, and all of the
Yes.
affluent,
Yeah.
fitness-focused, like casual fitness users all moved to the Apple Watch, and
Yes.
then Fitbit just was like left floundering.
Floundering, yeah.
And that's
yeah,
why I think like Google snapped them up now to buy up all
Yes.
that sort of brand.
Yes, I mean,
brand
Fitbit still
equity.
makes great product, but you can see where it shows its age. The weird thing is it looks fantastic, but actually the tech is still the same basic tech they've
Yeah.
had since the beginning.
Although their heart rate monitors improved a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, they've had
So
like
the-
10 plus years to improve
Yeah,
it. you know?
the first beat module is very good.
What lets me down with Fitbit is the apps available in there.
Oh,
the
yeah.
app
It's not
ecosystem
great.
are dreadful.
Not
Yeah,
great.
and Garmin got much better range of apps. Okay, but we're off topic.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Cool. Gavin, talking about the home.
Oh, yes.
Everyone needs a printer, man. Everybody needs a printer. So our tech treasure for this week is printers, budget
Yeah.
printers. I believe that your printer should be wireless.
I remember with the internet and then with the cloud, people were constantly forecasting how we'd stop printing stuff. Now we have the internet, we can all just read these emails and we don't
Dude,
have to print things out. We don't have to
I
fax
just
things.
went through
Same with
school
the cloud.
applications
Yeah.
for 2021.
It's amazing how much stuff we still print, man. Jeez.
And the one school only takes hard copy.
Jeez,
Yeah,
you gotta
so
know. You gotta
have
know
to
how many
print
different,
everything
how
and
many different ways can they
get things
smell your
certified.
surname wrong.
So
yeah.
I found the HP DeskJet 2630, so 2630, 3-in-1 multifunction Wi-Fi inkjet printer. We can get into a debate about inkjet versus laser, but I don't care right now. 650 Rand on Takealot right now. Usual price is 700 Rand, so 50 Rand discount for I don't know for how long.
Sorry, how much is that?
650 Rand.
Yeah, but now this is obviously one of those printers where when it comes time to replace the ink, you're going to throw the whole printer away and buy another one.
No, you just buy the ink.
No, you don't, because the ink, the ink's going to cost 1,200.
Yes, it is. That's the problem with printers.
Yeah. So people moan about the price of the ink, but what you have to understand is no, you're not actually paying for the ink. There's a huge amount of technology that goes into the print head.
Yeah.
That's the thing that contains all the ink. There's actually huge amounts of other technology in there. Microcircuits, a lot of chips that control the flow of the ink, the shape and size of the dots that are spraying out, which is where all the technology is. The whirring gears and things inside the printer is all like mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
The intelligence is not in the body of the printer. The intelligence is in the print
microelectronics also get compromised with the heat exposure. That it's part of the printing process. You need to heat up the ink so that it can do a certain thing.
And that's why people refill them, but they do get buggered up.
Yeah, they do get buggered up over time.
So I mean, the printing shell you're paying for is neither here nor there.
But I believe that the printing shell should connect to the internet wirelessly.
Obviously,
so you can print from anywhere. So this can
especially from your phone. It's great to print from your phone, man.
Wi-Fi, and it's magic. It's magic.
And the best thing is no cables around the house. So now all your devices can print to the thing because you don't have to run cables to them. Yeah.
Exactly. Your one, Gavin.
So I do believe in wireless printing, especially because it brings the phone into the mix, and the phone is, of course, where all the photos are. So I'm a big fan of the refillable ink tanks. Now, these printers do cost a bit more, but the economy is actually spectacular. You usually get a set of ink bottles with the printer, 4 colors usually, some are much more. You get like 6 or 8 colors, but really you want to get your base 4 colors. You take these bottles, you squirt all the ink out the bottles into the ink tanks inside the printer. And this is by far the cheapest way to service the printer. Buying the ink in bottles is extremely cheap, and they have a print head that doesn't wear out. So all you're doing is replacing the ink each time, not the whole print head like you would on Lindsey's printer. So both Canon and Epson make great refillable ink tank printers. In fact, everyone makes refillable ink tank printers. My best experiences have been with Canon and Epson. I'm looking at the Canon Pixma G1411 ink tank printer. Pixma normally is synonymous with good photo printing, so the Canon Pixma G1411 is 2,000 Rand on Takealot, and that's with refillable ink tanks. That obviously comes with a set of ink. Probably slightly better would be the Epson Eco Tank ITS L3050. This is a Wi-Fi printer. It's 2,800 Rand, also with refillable ink tanks. And I think, how am I going to say this? The Epson printing technology, I just believe, is superior. Both of these are going to produce very reasonable photo results. The Epson slightly better, I would say, than the Canon. And it costs a little bit more. Both these printers are, no, they're not. Only the Epson is a 3-in-1. The Canon is a printer only. It's a lot smaller footprint, so it fits better into your house. That's about it from me.
Cool. Gavin, at the moment I am testing the Lenovo Legion Y740 gaming laptop. It's my first taste of Intel, NVIDIA's ray tracing technology, so RTX. Graphics. It's going well. Found out there's a lot of legacy games that are getting updated with RTX, so that's going to be pretty fun. My iPad mini, using it as my primary computer, that's going great. That video will be live next week.
Oh, Lindsey's loving his iPad mini. I mean, it's amazing. This iPad mini, he has shrunk his entire workstation down to something like it's about as big as a paperback novel and about a third as thin as a paperback novel. If you add the keyboard, his entire workstation is the size of a paperback novel, basically,
and
which
it's
is
quite
amazing.
Powerful. It's quite powerful.
Yeah,
I can
and the
connect it to
screen,
a major
I have
display.
to concede, is beautiful.
And I can connect it to a bigger display, which is important. And then, all that is and more. There's a Mustang Mach E story up right now. I put
I
it
see.
up
I didn't know you'd actually
on
covered it.
thatopinionguy.co.za. I'm That Opinion Guy on YouTube. Sharpshooters on social media, SHARPSCHUTTERS. Gavin, what's happening on your side?
Our next edition of the magazine coming out shortly. It has our techno quiz in, which I've told you about once before, where you can actually win a Google Home Hub. That's the top end personal smart home speaker assistant thing for your home. You can win that if you take our techno quiz, which is in the issue that's coming out. But there's another story in there about a guy who basically built 6 rocket engines into a device that he straps onto his arms, and he can fly like Iron Man. It produces over 1,000 horsepower. Over 1,000 horsepower worth of jet engines spraying out of your hands. You don't want to like rub your eye or something while you're flying. It's just like a recipe for disaster. But it's amazing what he's achieved and how he's evolved these engines over time. It uses more petrol than a Bugatti Veyron, apparently, to fly around.
Cool, but that's us for the week.
That's it. Over and out.
Bye.